Hello, everyone, and welcome to the very first, second installment of Introduction to Philosophy. This is my first video on Plato. Plato was basically the first philosopher who set the stage for basically the rest of the history of philosophy. All the pre-Socratics kind of set the stage for Socrates and Plato himself. I think the pre-Socratics definitely did kind of stir up some issues and caused Socrates to be part of the reason why they call him a sycophant, I think it was. And that's because he basically takes people's ideas that they are firmly holding on to and firmly believing in, and he just takes it and he shatters it himself, breaks it all into pieces, and they just have nothing. They are not certain of anything after talking to Sir Socrates. In all of Plato's works, and I have all of Plato's works in one huge book, all of his dialogues. Um, Basically, Socrates is the talking head. He's the guy who is basically talking to all these different people, talking about all these different issues, about different things. And Plato is the one who is basically speaking through him. And Plato is the one who um, kind of makes his whole theory of everything through talking through Socrates and on all these dialogues. Plato was, of course, a pupil of Socrates, as was Aristotle, a pupil of Plato, and I look forward to doing, I think I'm gonna do four videos in this course, which is about Plato. This first one is going to be about the Allegory of the Cave, to sort of give you a little taste, a little bit of a intro to Plato's philosophy itself, and then I'll probably do one about Plato's forms, talking about that whole metaphysical theory in general, and we'll do one about his form of the good, and also his idea of justice and the his basically his politics, which is kind of elaborated in the Republic. So will have I have a WordPress account with which I will post. I'm going to be posting on a lot of different things on there. I'm going to post the outlines for every video I make. There will be outlines. There will be a outline for each video I make, and I'll post that down below, and that will take you to my WordPress account. And you can download the outline there, or you can just read it there, whatever you would like. I think I'll probably just post it in a blog post, or maybe in I'm not really sure how I'll do that, but I'll also be doing a series of art there. Probably we'll be doing a looking at certain artists' works in certain posts there and thinking about that some more. But in this course segment, I'll be talking about Plato's Allegory of the Cave. And Plato had a metaphysics, which basically which kind of is how he kind of unwinds his theory of everything, and that kind of spreads to political philosophy, ethics, everything, and it also kind of pertains to his epistemology as well. And now, what is metaphysics? Metaphysics is a branch of philosophy which is about what there is. It's about the way the world is. It's about talking about entities like properties and particulars and tropes and all those different things. And a property, just a little bit a short metaphysics lesson. A particular is something such as this pen, and a property is something about this which can be attributed to it. A particular, this is any one particular. There can only be one of this. This is one pen, and there is probably a lot more like it, but there is only one thing that is just like it. But however, there are different properties which can be attributed to it, which can blanket over many different particulars, such as the property of blue. That is, we know of many different blue things, and blue isn't just instantiated in this one thing, it is also instantiated in this book cover also, the color blue. The color blue is a property which can be attributed to many different things, and there are different property theories. There are different ways of looking at particulars. There are different ways of looking at things like universals, and Plato's forms are basically the kind of idea of what a universal is. And I will talk about that in the next video. However, that is a basic metaphysics lesson. It's about what the world is, and talking about how the world is. And there are many people who basically do not like metaphysics and kind of trash it pretty much because they don't have, because talking about properties or whatever, some people think that they have no grounds for talking about such things like properties, but that is another matter, my friends. The allegory of the cave is the sort of stage of looking at how you go from having just imagination stuff in your head which has no reason or boundary or warrant, to having an actual pure knowledge, having knowledge and reason and intelligence about anything. This allegory is where we have this huge cave, well, not huge, big cave, and you have these people, these slaves, who are at the very bottom of the cave, who are bound by their hands and their feet, and can only face against the wall of the bottom of the cave. And they have been there as long as they can recall. Been there forever, far as they know. And they basically are people who see shadows. There is a level above them of which there are keepers of those slaves who have a fire going, and that casts shadows upon the wall of which they can only look at. They can only look at that wall. And the people in the fire above are casting shadows on that wall. So they have shadows, and they have images, and they have reflections. That's really all they have. However, there's no grounds for anything. They just have that. And now this also corresponds to what is called the divided line. Now I'll post in the outline a picture of the allegory of the cave to give you a better idea. And also my preferred divided line thing, which is how I got this, this is my preferred, I guess, take on the divided line. The divided line is basically just a way of looking at different kinds of knowledge or thought, and that corresponds to each stage of the allegory of the cave. So the people who are slaves at the very bottom of the cave, that pretty much we have two sections. We have knowledge and we have opinion. Knowledge we have two things, and these are higher levels of thought. These are two lower levels of thought. The bottom one is imagination or perceiving. This is what the Greek word for this is ikasia, and that's corresponds to like mirror images, shadows, that kind of thing, and that's imagining, because that's all they have when they're chained. When they're chained, and they can only see that wall, and that's an unenlightened state of mind. That is what the people chained like that is basically thinking of. And all of this is in the Republic, book 7, I think, book 6 or 7, is where you will find this. And and also in my outline, I'll post things to read, like I guess references on what to read to I guess know more about this. However, in these earlier stages, I'm not going to, I guess, do any readings or really do any readings about Plato. I might do some about like Aristotle, but definitely once we get into like modern philosophy, we'll have like things that I would think is best for you to read. However, I'm not gonna, I guess, ask you to read this. However, I will post you a link or post you a place where you should read if you want to know more about this. And what happens is the keepers of the slaves unchain the people, and then the slaves people who were previously slaves go up and they see the men and the fire, and that is where we get belief, and that's faith. That's what is called the visible. It's belief. You can actually form beliefs, and a belief is basically having faith, or having a belief, or a proposition which you can hold yourself. And furthermore, the belief is the Greek word of pistis, which is a common sense belief. It's a typical thing that you can hold yourself. Like today, a common sense belief would be that if I were to drop this pen, or if I were to let go, it would fall due to the law of gravity, as you see. And it's about visible objects. It's common sense ideas about visible objects, and that's really not any knowledge. This is the state of where you can form beliefs. That's where they go up, see the men, and they have beliefs of the shadows of and which kind of makes them understand the previously unenlightened kind of state that they were in before. And then finally we get into the higher levels of knowledge, and what happens after they see the men and the fire. They exit the cave, and that's kind of a big thing here, and that's thought and understanding, and that is what is referred to as dianoia. And that is about mathematics. You can have sort of thought and understanding of higher levels of thinking and higher things, and that's reasoning. Dianoia is from Greek. That is reasoning, and that's from a certain group of premises or premise to a conclusion. That's reasoning, and that's the bridge. Dianoia is the bridge from opinion, the lower levels of thought, into actual knowledge, actual reasoning. And what the allegory here corresponds to is that of them exiting the cave, their light being blinded because they have not had this sort of kind of, I guess, knowledge and like light being in there. They have not really had that before, therefore they are blinded. So that's a big thing, because they are blinded and they go back in. So that's what is the allegory of the cave. That is what dianoia is. And finally, once they recoup, they go back out, and they have what is finally intelligence, that is pure reason, and what is also referred to as dialectic. And noesis, that is intelligent or rational intuition, and as they also have what is called episteme, that is a Greek word, which is knowledge, having knowledge, and this is what is in the allegory of the cave is epistemology. Now, what is epistemology? Epistemology is another branch of philosophy, which is about what we can know, how we can know things, or be justified in things. And in epistemology, it's about first of all, it's about belief, and a belief is of course having a proposition which you have faith in, or I guess faith is a bad word. A belief is something that you hold as your own. It's a proposition which you hold to be true, and there is justification, which is having reason to believe something. To be justified in a belief is to have warrant or grounds or reason for believing something. And finally, knowledge. For now, the main look at knowledge is having justified true belief. And if you go into epistemology, you will find that that is really not the case. But for our purposes right now, that is pretty much knowledge. To know something is to have justified true belief of it. And the divided line and the allegory of the cave is about metaphysics and about epistemology. It's about the forms, for one. The forms is Plato's metaphysics. And Plato's metaphysics is where we have somewhat, is what one might refer to as abstract versus concrete things. A universal, if we're talking metaphysics. Plato, form, we have the form of things like the form of the good, the form of the beautiful, the form of the just, and the form of the round, the form of the blue. And a form of something blankets. A form is itself a abstract concept. It's a abstract thing, and an abstract thing basically blankets over every concrete thing. A concrete thing is like this marker. This marker is a concrete particular thing, and there's a form of the green which blankets over everything that is green, including this. And the form of the good is what is above all of this. The form of the good is the top thing. And I'm going to talk more about that in a different segment of this course. But this is probably like this whole segment is kind of a bit of a thing which might confuse you, which is why I plan on doing more here, and to sort of put this into more perspective and put this more into more better terms. But this allegory of the cave and the divided line is different kinds of knowledge and different kinds of belief and different kinds of thought. And all these four kinds of thought correspond to thought about what the forms are. They're about perceiving things that are concrete and that are of certain forms. And it's about his forms are what blanket over anything that a form is of, and the form of the good is what basically blankets over everything that is good. And when people finally do exit the cave, they are truly enlightened. They have true reason. They have true intelligence and have true knowledge. And that is also what the good is to have true knowledge, true intelligence, true rational intuition, and that is what also corresponds to the form of the good. And that is the form of the good itself is something I want to do a specific segment about itself, because it's just really is a rich thing that I kind of want to get into a little bit more here. But in the Republic, which is where this comes from, the whole discussion, I believe, is brought about by thinking the whole dialogue, the Republic starts with thinking about what it means to be just, and that thing is wholly figured out by the end of the dialogue. And also Plato outlines a whole political philosophy beyond all this, and he has a ethical philosophy and a metaphysics and a epistemology and all this. And this allegory of the cave is basically a schema of different ways that we can have thought, different kinds of thought. So, and as to where we should want to be and how we should, and where we should try to be. And that is within the idea of dialectic, or episteme, or having knowledge, or having true intelligence, or having true pure reason of the world itself. And to have that true knowledge, to have true dialectic, is to come in contact with the forms themselves. And as you go down this, from here down, you kind of get as you go down and down and down, you get farther and farther away from understanding any form itself. To go down here is to less understand the form of the good, or the form of the beautiful, whatever. And it's Plato's philosophy is sort of all entwined together. His ethics, his metaphysics, his epistemology, his political philosophy, everything is all entwined into this one big thing, which is surrounded by the forms. And the epistemology as to how we, I guess, have cognition of them, as to how it can. So that's kind of what I wanted to really get into today, and I want to get more into different things and different segments. So if you have questions about this, then please comment below, and go down there to get the outline, and I guess get a little. And also there will be a look at what you want to read if you want to read that. The Republic is free on the Amazon Kindle app, so you can go there and you can download that if you want to read any one part. I think when I first was a philosophy major back in 2009, I checked out that book from the library, The Republic. I started reading it at 7 p.m. and I finished it by 9 a.m. the next morning. So I read it for a very, very long time and finally finished it. But it's just it really is fun to read. So I think at some point you should read the Republic. So and I will point out places where to read if you want to read about this allegory. So thank you, and I'll see you in the next segment.